Imagine walking into one of the most famous art museums in Florence, Italy. Now, picture yourself standing in an open room stylized with Greek pillars, sculptures, and pottery. Once you open your eyes, you notice that you've entered the Accademia Gallery, containing the great statue of David carved by the Renaissance artist Michelangelo. Italy was the foundation of Renaissance art ever since the early 1400s, spreading across Europe by different mediums of art such as architecture, sculptures, and paintings. The history website last updated on September 20, 2019 states that by the end of the 15th century, Rome had displaced Florence as the principal center of Renaissance art, reaching a high point under the powerful and ambitious Pope Leo X. When the Renaissance was referred to as Proto-Renaissance during the early 13th century, Italian Renaissance art was romanticized for its devotion to God via Catholic faith, attracting many spectators at the time. Italian Renaissance art had brought an influence on the visual arts into modern-day cultures worldwide. We will explore what caused the Renaissance to gain popularity in Italy, how it affected the social and political views from people, and the artists of other countries who had adapted into this period of visual art. The Renaissance became the vogue of the century for its attention to architecture and the overall image of the human body. According to the November 4, 2014 AHRC film Building the Picture, historian Amanda Lee claims that architecture is also an active protagonist in paintings and carries meaning and has great emotive content. This perspective of art was considered a fresh innovation for ways in which people can interpret their realities. In our case, we develop emotional connections with the places that we live in. This gave a lot of attention to Italian Renaissance art at the time. On June 15, 2010, the Century World of Italian Renaissance Art book states, Renaissance artists and their public increasingly considered the human figure the principal element of art and consequently the focal point for display and appreciation of artistic skill. It is noted that Italian Renaissance artists have been transcending their material by replicating humanity from head to toe. This notion was inherited by the ancient Greeks and Romans, who identified human beings as superior organisms on the planet for their minds and bodies. Now that we know how Italian Renaissance art applied to the physical bodies, we will briefly learn how it applied to the minds, depending on the social and political perspectives of people. Ideas and theories were diffused among people due to the influences of Italian Renaissance art. Now, this is taking into perspective about the social classifications economically and politically, as well as the opinions from people on famous artists. The September 30, 2019 Daily Life in Renaissance Elite book explains, drawing on many arts, they heighten the senses of high and low. For instance, the upper class were typically expressed in Italian Renaissance paintings as having a pious background and being surrounded by rich, beautiful landscapes, while on the other hand, lower class citizens were portrayed as field workers always covered in soil. An example I have here is a painting by Adrien Vandevene in 1630 called Allegory of Pottery. It shows a man carrying an elderly woman with leprosy across the desert while walking a dog, showing that poor people are always burdened with carrying baggage of scarcity of food and illnesses and poor housing. This was meant to distinguish people by wealth and religious faith, dating back to the social hierarchy during the Dark Ages, which ended around 1000 AD. On February 2, 2016, the Italian Renaissance Courts book states that painted portraits were regularly presented as diplomatic gifts, enabling a ruling family to really maintain a high profile, and were also used to reassure the health and well-being of individual members. In that sense, art during the Renaissance was made to exemplify political, wealthy, and religious families as perfect beings. relating to how people thought that Italian Renaissance art had ordained craftsmen as aristocrats. However, Italy was not the only country to adopt these ideals from ancient Greeks and Romans into their art. The Renaissance applied to Japan and Spain as well. There was an inquisitive Japanese artist named Toshio Arimoto, born in Tokyo around 1946. It's been proven by the July 16, 2010 Japan Times website that he was attracted to the paintings of this period because they reminded him of Buddhist temple paintings. Arimoto has changed Japanese art by centralizing the ideas on human figures in architectural landscapes. His latest masterpiece, Strict Canon, incorporated spaces that were reminiscent of Italian Renaissance art techniques. The October 13, 2019 National Gallery of Art video introduces curator C.D. Dickerson III, who discusses that there's a lot of cross-fertilization happening, different impulses from Italy coming into Spain. Alonso Bertagate was the first sculptor in Renaissance Spain. This indicated the fusion of Italian and Spanish cultures, sharing ideas of forms of art. This was a time when Italian Renaissance art had prevailed in various nations. After exploring the golden age of the Renaissance in Italy, its impacts on the social or political standpoints of people, and the overview of artists from different countries who had adapted into this era of distinctive art, now you know the true value of Italian Renaissance art in the entire world. Italian Renaissance art had affected many present-time cultures around the globe with its contributions to visual art. Now, I want to ask you, does Italian Renaissance art pique your interest after listening to this discussion? Thank you.